right, notes 11.2. So you are going to try this warm up on your own. But today we're talking about exponential growth and decay, but this is kind of what we did last time. So I want you to look at option 1 and option 2 and tell me which option will give your team the most total practice time. So look at both options, try some things, and see what you think the better option is, okay? But we're going to talk about exponential functions today. Exponential functions show growth or decay. Now, so exponential functions are shown by f of x equals a times b to the power of x, where a is the y-intercept, the initial value, and b is your growth or decay factor, your multiplier, okay? And for this, an exponential function is shown by this formula, and a cannot be 0, b has to be greater than 0, but not 1, and x is always a real number. Okay, and I'll show you an example, kind of what it's going to look like, but let's look at some attributes of graphs. The point where the graph crosses the y-axis, well, we've talked about that. Where it crosses on the y-axis, so like on this growth, it crosses right here. Now, of course, we can't really see what that is because it's not giving us numbers, but that would be the y, right? Because that's our axis, our y-axis. So where it crosses on that y-axis is actually your y-intercept, and that would be your a. Okay. The common ratio, the multiplier, this is b. If b is greater than 1, it increases from left to right. It shows growth, right? Just like that one, it increases. It goes like this. And I need to use a different color, actually. Sorry. B is green, my bad. Okay. If b is between 0 and 1, so like a fraction, for example, it decreases. It shows decay where it goes from left to right, okay? So that is going to be our b value, or our multiplier. Okay? Then a line that the graph approaches and gets close to but never reaches or touches, okay? For exponential functions, this is always the horizontal line, the x-axis, right? Notice on this one and this one, it's not touching. Let me use a different color again, my bad. It's not touching that x-axis, right? Same thing with this one. It is not touching the x-axis. Okay, so that is called our asymptote. Asymptote. Sorry. Okay, these are the attributes of our graphs, and we're going to look at those in just a second, more examples. But let's go look at example 1. So, according to this, right, we're going to use this to kind of guide us. On example 1, what would our multiplier be, right? If the formula is f of x is equal to a times b to the power of x, where a is the y-intercept, b is the multiplier. Okay, and I'm using all of this. I'm getting all of this from this up here, right? Our multiplier is what? What is our b here? 5. Okay. What about growth or decay? Am I increasing from left to right, or am I decreasing from left to right? Increasing, right? So this has to be growth. And if it's growth, it's increasing, right? We just said that when we used that. We said both words there, growth, increasing. All right. What about our y-intercept? Well, if a is our y-intercept, what is our a here? 2. Okay. Now, the last thing it asks for is the asymptote. But What is the asymptote? A line that the graph approaches and gets close to, but never reaches or touches. It's always the horizontal line. Well, remember, what would be at that horizontal line? Right here. It is the x-axis, but we're not going to say the x-axis. We're going to say y equals, what would that be right there? 0. Okay. Now let's look at the next example, and then you're going to do 2 on your own. Okay, example 2. Right off the bat, what do you already notice is different? Think about some things you notice that are different. Well, 1, b is between 0 and 1, which means that this has to be a decay, right? We already can see that, and you can see it on the graph, but always if your b is between 0 and 1, it's decaying. If your b is greater than 1, it's growth. And if it's decay, that means it is decreasing. All right. Also, I will not be upset if on your notes you circle one or the other, okay? I am okay with you circling. You don't have to rewrite the word. I'm okay with that. But just know what you're circling. Pay attention to what that word is, because on the STAR test, it might ask you to write it out. It might say, look at this graph, and I want you to tell me what it is. And you have to be able to say it's growth, it's increasing, or it's decay, it's decreasing. Now the multiplier, right, or your b is what? 1/3. Okay, that's our b. The y-intercept, or our a, where it crosses on the y-axis, and you can even see that right here, where it crosses on the y-axis, is 5. And once again, our asymptote, where it's never going to touch, never ever, it's not going to be, we're not going to say the x-axis, we're going to call it y equals 0. Okay? I want you to try example 3 and example 4 on your own, and I will see you again for notes 11.3.